with another Shalakia. Shalom, Israel, once again. It's your brother Joshua back with another quick coffee break and a quick exhortation for the brothers and sisters in the truth. Right, first and foremost, I want to give all honor and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Right? Satan already trying to mess with the lie, but nevertheless, the word is going to go out. I just want to come with a quick exhortation for, the mothers and fathers, the parents in this truth, those that are walking and seeking after the ways of the Most High and in righteousness, right? What they should do with their children, right? It's a critical phase in a child's life from when they're born to begin to teach them within the house before they reach the world, right? Before they reach the outside world, right? The parents are the forefront and the teachers of the young ones, right? Mainly the mothers, because a lot of mothers are, at home a lot with their children or things like that if they're not working or whatever. They tend to spend a little bit more time because they are the nurturers of the children, so they tend to spend a little bit more time with the children, at a, Shalaki, at a very early age, right? And it's really critical to really start to press upon the children at an early age, especially between the years of 1 to 5, right? That's one of the most critical times where the brain is the most sponge-like, absorbing a lot of actions, reactions, and learning things, and we tend to like to leave our children to devices of the world, the tablets, the phones, and things of that nature. When they're younger, you get tired, you're working a lot, or you're doing things around the house, or you got to run errands or whatever it is, and you tend to kind of allow these things to babysit your children, which is, sometimes you can have those things available, to kind of give you a little peace time, but you should always cut it down in short increments and not allow them to just be indulged in those things all day long, right? Because there's a lot of pollution in the world, a lot of wickedness and things that our children absorb with their eyes, and they, it is imprinted into their minds, and sometimes it's hard to get those things out, it's because, the damage is always done, or already done, rather, Salaki. And, it's very important to get them at that young age to be able to be that imprint upon their lives, to show them how to walk and what way they should go. We're going to get the classic real quick in the book of Proverbs. Right, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22 and verse number 6, and it says, "Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." So the Lord is telling you that you have to train up a child, meaning through his developmental stages, from a very young child, from the womb all the way to the tomb, man. You should always be imprinting righteousness upon them, right? So they can carry those things on and, pass them down throughout the generations, so they can keep those things pure, in the sight of the Most High, man. And that their families will see the light and not go astray, not to the left nor to the right, and be in a wicked world, in a wicked standing in the eyes of the Most High. Right, let's get one more real quick. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Right, let's go to Deuteronomy. Right, it's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse number 6. And it says, "And these words which I command thee this day, thou shalt be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou layest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and thou shalt be as frontlets between thine eyes. right? And thou shalt write them upon a post of thy house on thy gates. So, you know, been a sign, you know, in your household and then upon your hands, man, is you need to be having these things visual, like your day-to-day walk, man, or how you're moving. You should be walking in such a way, right, that'll show them the order and the way that they should go, right, in these law, statutes, and commandments, man. You know, wives, you should be wearing your dresses with your fringes, your hair wrapped. You should be, you know, maintaining the household, you know, being subject to your husbands, you know, showing them how to deal with their husbands and things of that nature, you know, and what they should look for, you know, how they should pray, you know, fast when they're old enough to do so. You know, all these things, you know, you have to make a practice of these things, a habit of these things, you know, in your households, because like I said, it's a critical point between the age of 1 and 5, right? I got a couple of statistics written down. I just want to kind of get in a couple of things, right? It says, let me read this. It says the first 5 years of a child's development are critical to their health, well-being, and life trajectory. So all these things are pivotal to a child's, you know, health, the mental state, and the trajectory of where they're going to be at in their life. Like what direction were they going to move? Because a lot of us have grown up with, you know, seeing our parents with a mouthful of cuss words and drinking and smoking, sitting outside playing dominoes all day, cards, drinking strong drink, you know, got everybody and they neighbor at the house, loud music bumping, you know, you running around with a diaper full of, you know, mess and all this type of stuff. You know, a lot of times we see things like that, you know, or what TV has to offer. We sit in front of the TV all day, you know, and things of that nature, right? But the Lord, you know, these statistics, you know, is saying that it's critical for the health and the well-being and the trajectory, right, on the way these children are going to go in life. And it says age 4 or 5, children passing their 4-year-old milestones learn more daily. They improve their word usage and imitate adult actions, right? And this is a thing. These children, whenever you hear in the world, monkey see, monkey do, that's what these children do. They imitate the adults' actions. Those that are older around them, that they're used to, that they know, especially their parents. They watch these things, their older brothers and sisters. But if you're not teaching anything to the children or bringing them up in the truth and giving them the knowledge and feeding them the understanding and things of the Lord, then the world is going to take over, right? They're going to see all the wickedness that's going on. They're going to lean towards all the things that seem to be fun where everybody else is partaking in, right? And you got to be very careful on how you're moving, what you're speaking, and what you're feeding the eyes of these children for behavior's sake, man, for mental stability, man. You know, and that's really a critical thing, man. And you should always be, you know, teaching and handing those things down what you have learned. All right, let's get another precept. Let's get a 2 Timothy real quick. All right, let's get 2 Timothy chapter 3. And I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned, and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through the faith which is in our Lord Mashiach Yahushua. So you got to continue in the things that you've learned as a youth, right? And pass those things down. All those things you learn from a child, it says, thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise. And that's what you have to do, is help your seed become wise, man. Lest they be a fool out here, right? Because especially on these so-called platforms of what you would call like TikTok and YouTube, and even these created so-called cartoons nowadays and things of that nature. They're so created, and there's wickedness weaved into those things, man. They start to seep in so-called homosexuality, man. Say, Timmy has two mothers, the gay BCs and all that type of stuff, man. You have to watch carefully for your children's souls out here, man. And show them that these things are not right. These things are not righteous in the eyes of the Most High. These things are not, profitable at all. They're wicked. And you want to keep them away from these so-called holidays. Everybody else is, celebrating things of that nature. They see those things, especially when they go to school. They start to get around other children, and they start to be peer pressured, and, things of that nature, man. And it's hard, kids to deal with that, but you want to make sure that they're on a solid foundation, man, to be able to eschew those things and be able to explain why they don't participate in those certain behaviors, or certain functions or celebrations and things of that nature as well, right? You want to be able to give your kids that confidence, to be able to do those things, man. Let me get Isaiah real quick. Let me get Isaiah 54, right? Isaiah 54, right? And verse number, let's go to 13, and it says, "And all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children." So that can be the solid foundation, to be taught of the Most High and understand the ways of the Most High, understand how to love and please the Most High, and walk righteous before the Most High. And that can be the peace, that'll keep your children stable, especially when they're in the schools and, amongst these other children and things of that nature. They won't feel like they have to waver or be tossed to and fro, or have to put on a front and be like everybody. They can be solid on, on that foundation, and know that they have peace in the Lord, man. And that's a beautiful thing, when your children have peace, knowing that they're serving the Most High, and that they can avoid all the concupiscence and peer pressure and, youthful lust and things of that nature, man. The envyings and things, they don't have to deal with all that vanity, and that's a beautiful thing, right? So let me finish reading this. I'm going to start back at the top. It says, "Children pass in their 4-year-old milestone, learn more daily. They improve their word usage, imitate adult actions, count objects and other activities for language development and school preparedness. By this age, most can rhyme, identify many colors, draw people, and explain where they live." Right? So this is a critical time to really be, I don't want to say force feeding the knowledge of your children, but it's almost, what you're doing. You want to be repetitive, or diligent is the word. You want to be very diligent, unless your house can be overthrown, man. Let me get that real quick, right? It's the book of Sirach. Right, it's the book of Sirach. Shalakia. It's the book of Sirach. Chapter 27 and verse 3, and it says, "Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown." So that house can go into your wife, your children. All these calamities and things like that can start happening, start to befall your children, your wife, and things of that nature, if you're not holding yourself diligently. And if you're not teaching those things diligently to your family, it's understood that, you might miss a day or something like that. You're busy in the world. You got to do what you got to do in this captivity. But you should always be keeping the word of the Lord in the households. Always be on fire. Always. Salakia. Somebody. Right? So, nevertheless, you always want to be diligent, man. Because if you're not in the household, if you're not dealing with your children, if you're not spending time with them, and not even just in the words of the Most High, just being there as a parent, being that teacher, just, having your presence there and learning and playing with them and, indulging in things with them, building blocks, whatever it is, those things can deter the child's mind, and that will cast them into the world, because they'll start wandering outside of your house, meaning their minds will start wandering outside of your home, and they'll start learning from other children, other grown-ups they see, other actions outside of the home and things of that nature, and that's very detrimental for their mental health, and later on down the line, physicality, man. Trouble brewing, in and out of lockup, jail, just, disturbing, disturbed behavior, all that type of stuff, and I want to read down in another statistic. It says the impact of negative informative years on a child's development. Okay, this is the negative side of not teaching nor dealing with your children, right? And it says parents must nurture, talk to, and support their children, and that's important, man. That's important. It is a vital vice to nurture your children and always be there to support them, right? Because this begins to start a mental aspect in a child's life, man. When it's like a hole in their life, and it's hard for them to develop fully, to their potential, in these years, man. If there's no support system there, right? There's no nourishment, man, right? None of these things, right? And it says parents must nurture, talk to, right? You have to sit down your child and talk to them. Have a time set apart with all the devices are down, TV off or whatever it is, and sit down in a circle and read, man. Talk to them, see what they feeling that day, what's going on with them, basically just kind of like saying you're getting to know them a little bit, you know what I'm saying, getting a little close. You want to do those things, and it says parents must nurture, talk to, and support their children, especially during their first years. But what if this doesn't happen, right? What if a child's caregiver is negligent? So what if these things happen? It says when parents fail to meet their child's emotional, physical, and mental needs during these stages, future mental problems begin to develop, right? And that's a disaster. That's a recipe for disaster, man. When you're not there, when you're not supportive, when you're not talking to them, you're just leaving them to the world and allowing the world to raise them and do whatever they want to, then that's a recipe for disaster, man. Your children are going to be destroyed. Then they start to take all type of different avenues in the world, right? Just to try to fill those voids that their parents are not giving them. Especially when the parents are not walking in righteousness and teaching them the commandments and the laws, the understanding of the Lord. And then they're just walking along in darkness, man, right? With no light to guide them at all. And being a people without any type of, let me get this precept real quick while it's on my mind, right? Let me get this book of Deuteronomy, right? It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse number 28. It says, for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Right? And that's what a lot of us have become. Our youngsters have become a nation that has no counsel. Right? Because the elders have failed us. They walk after other gods of Christianity and all this type of stuff, walking after this world, and made things, the devices of this world, their God, rather than the Most High. It says, for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. So you don't want to leave your children out there without no understanding. Because the Lord said in Hosea, man, you reject that knowledge, then the Lord is going to reject your children. Right? That's why you have all these children out here destroyed, and, a nation of brutish children in this world. Right? Killing each other at a young age and things of that nature, man. That's a product of, the lack of, love in the households. Parents have been together. A lot of times the fathers outside the households, man, or the mothers are out doing whatever they want to do. Being wicked and always in front of the camera, shaking their behind or whatever it is, man. Dealing with different men and all that type of stuff, and fathers just absent, man. You see different type of men running in and out of the house and things of that nature, man. Those things are, that's critical to the development of the children's mind, man. And that has destroyed a lot of children, man. And the Lord said this. Let's get this in Isaiah real quick. Right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 51. Let me see. The book of Isaiah, chapter 51, and verse number 20. And it says, thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in the net. They are full of fury of the Lord and the rebuke of thy God, man. So that's why you see a bunch of, so-called YNs out here acting and, running amok, man. Doing what they want to do, man. Being self-willed, just wicked, and destroyed at the end of the day. And the Lord don't take no pleasure in that, man. He hates to see that, man. The young men dying, hating one another, not submitting to authority, things of that nature. And a lot of times you can't blame them because, like I said, the elders have failed us. They're not walking in the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. And they're not teaching the young men and women. So it gets hard. Right? Let's get one more in Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 9. Right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, and verse number 17. Matter of fact, 16. It says, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Right? Because the leaders, they cause the youngsters to err, man. Right? Because they're not bringing them up in righteousness. And it says, therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on the fatherless and widows. For every one is a hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. So the elders have caused the young men and women to err, man. Right? And caused them to be destroyed. And the Lord does not take any joy in our young people in these last days, man. Right? Because they just out here doing whatever they want to do, man. And it ails me and it pains me, man, to see the young women, man. The women get younger and younger and younger with that whorish mind state, man. That whorish spirit is among Eve. So tough now, man. Bad. It's real bad out here, man. I mean, it's disgusting to see these young middle school children, these little girls, wearing little to nothing to schools and dances outside, walking down the street, all that type of stuff, and these parents allow them to, man. And like I said, a lot of times the mothers are in the households and they don't have no father figure to come up and tell them nothing. And the mother just allowing them to do whatever they do because the mother's doing the same thing, man. And I mean, they just cause them to err, man. Because there's no discipline. There's no, truth in the house, man. The Lord is not in that house at all. And they might be sitting up in the Sunday church all day, but the Sunday church ain't telling you the truth, man. They teaching you sweet Caesar Borgias, man. White Jesus, man. And not the true Messiah, man. The white Jesus, man, he tell you, hey, man, you can do everything. Love is love. Do what you want to do. I'll still accept you, man. But not so with Yahushua, man. Right? And our women are destroying these young women. And it's crucial out here, man. Right? It's crucial. Right? Let's get one more precept, and I'm gonna finish on reading in that those statistics. I cannot talk today. Salakia, right? Let's get this in Ezekiel. Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 44. It says, "Behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter." So, I mean, when they imitate what they seeing, they're going to come out and do the same thing. Monkey see, monkey do. So when you see these women TikToking and dancing and dresses up they behind and all the tight stuff and makeup and, all the fake dudes and the long nails and stuff, what you think these little children, these sisters is going to do? They're going to do the same thing. They doing the same things they see their mothers doing. Right? As is the mother, so is the daughter, man. Right? So let's go back up. It says, but what is this, if this doesn't happen, if a child's caregiver is negligent, when parents fail to meet their children's emotional and physical and mental needs during these stages, further mental problems begin to develop, right? These further mental problems, they begin to develop, man. Right? So when you're absent outside of your children's lives, man, the mind, man, it begins to go off. Right? Because there's no stability there, man. And the Lord said the mind is like a rolling axle tree, man. Just wicked. It's evil. Desperately evil. And if a child's mind is not conquered, and if you do not bow down the neck of your child and bring them up in the law, statutes, and commandments, and, solidify them in the Lord, in the Spirit, boy, all hell gonna break loose, man. Right? Let's get this, man, because a lot of y'all just letting your children just do whatever you want to do, man. Let's go to Sirach, man. Let's go to Sirach chapter 30. And I'm going to start at verse 8. It says, "A horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful." So when you neglect your children, man, when you're negligent, and you allow them just to do what they want to do and grow up on their own, basically, then they come headstrong. They become willful. That's what that means. They're headstrong. It's hard to break them. The older they get, it's hard to teach them anything. The more hard-headed they become, is basically what the Lord says. He becomes willful. They become more hard-headed. You can't tell them nothing. And to the point to where it's too late, and they already out there full of mischief, man. Right? And it says, "Conquer thy child, and he shall make thee afraid. Play with him, and he shall bring thee heaviness." So if you just laughing at the father and you playing and you just letting them just whatever, get away with whatever, man, hey, man, he gonna bring heaviness to you, man. And it says, "Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end. Give him no liberty in his youth, and weep not at his follies," man. So don't give him passage, man. You know, as they growing up, man, you're supposed to be able to feed them with the knowledge to keep them solid, man, to keep them on the right path, in the light, on that narrow path, man. Lest they go off and be a fool somewhere, man. You can't be negligent in your child's life, man. You have to teach your children. You got to bring them up, man. You got to. Right? And it says, studies show when a child experiences rejection, right? Wait, so let me go back to this. It says, studies show when a child experiences negligence at a young age, it often manifests in deep-rooted issues that stay with them throughout life, man. Impacting emotional intelligence, emotional development, social skills, and ability to play with others. And a lot of times you can see that on children, man, when they all standoffish, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know, they can't really, you know, trust nobody, get down with nobody, because they antisocial, they, you know, they shy type, they really don't know how to deal with people, or they quick to get upset when certain things happen. They don't know how to control their emotions, you know. They don't really know how to deal with others well, you know. And on the opposite, man, you know, you got some that, you know, trust anything, just go for anything, because they don't have nothing solid to stand on. They don't have no guidance. They don't have no understanding, and they just go willingly and just fall into mischief, man. Especially our young ladies, man. What you call it in the world, they so naive, man. Right? And they just willing to do whatever. You know, because there's no guidance there, man. And there's just a mental and emotional state, man. Right? And it says children lacking proper parental treatment during these developmental stages are prone to these things: behavior issues, low self-esteem, lack of sense of belonging, developmental depression, mental health issues, and addictions, man. Right? You see that? Addictions, man. Mental health. Hey, man, that's hard. That's something very hard, man, to deal with when your child is going through mental issues, or they have certain addictions, like to drugs, or, say sex, all that type of stuff, man, just to try to find something to ease that pain, man, to ease that void, that hole. Right? That's why it's vital for you to be in the homes, man. It's vital for you to be in their life. It is vital for you to love on your children, man. It's vital, man. Right? And reading a little bit more, it says, a child can develop negative feelings and insecurities, affecting them for life, even if the parents are not physically abusing them. If the caregiver neglects the child during their teenage years, they may feel they lack a reliable support system at home and may try find unsafe alternatives to cope. See that? They try to find unsafe alternatives, Salakia, alternatives rather. I can't talk for nothing today, Salakia, right? So this is what happens, man, when you're not in your child's life as you should be, right? Giving them the love that they need, that they deserve, to help them develop fully, especially in this walk, giving them the words of the Lord, that they know that they can run to the Most High before they run to anything else for their problems. Teach them to pray first before they run to the world to even ask for anything. Even you, teach them to go to the Most High first before they even come to you to ask for anything. Right? Let them reverence the Lord first, then come to the parents for advice. But if they can't and do not know the Most High, and then they know they can't come to you because you're not there, then where else are they going to go? They're going to go to the world, man. So we got to start loving our children, man. We got to start loving, our seed, because that's the future. That's our heritage, man, from the Lord. We're supposed to be proud of these things. The Lord didn't just give you children and just say, be fruitful and multiply, just to scatter seed everywhere, man. And just watch everything just grow up and just be whatever. No. You're supposed to bring up a child in the way they should go, man. All right, let's get one more precept, one or two more. Let's get Psalms, right, chapter 127. Right, this is the book of Psalms. Chapter 127 and verse number, right? Matter of fact, the book of Psalms, chapter 127 and verse number 3, and it reads, "Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As an arrow are in the hands of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath a quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate." So, children are an heritage, man, from the Lord, man. It's a beautiful thing. If you have children, you are blessed by the Most High. So you have to do your job to bring them up in the law, statutes, and commandments and teach them about the Most High and set them on the right path in this wicked world, man. Right? To love on them and prepare them for life. Because when you're gone, who are they going to have? They have to have the Most High to keep them stable. Because if they don't have the Most High, they don't have you, then all they have is the world to lean on. And that's sure death. Right? So let's get this one more, man. Let's go to 3 John real quick. It's the book of 3 John, chapter 1 and verse 4. It says, "I rejoiced greatly that I found of thy children walking in the truth, as we have received a commandment from the Father." So it's beautiful, man, a thing of rejoicing when your children are walking in the truth after you, man. But with that, I hope it was edifying. Hope you take the precepts and the information to heart, apply them to your life, and understand that your children are a heritage, and you have to be in your children's life. Love on them and protect them, and bring them up in righteousness in this dark, cold world. But with that, giving honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and Shalom.